Ready?
Let's do it.
Iron Road Podcast, back again. Eric, my friend, here in the Northeast, I feel sorry for you. You seem to have good spirits, though. Tell me about your experience in the tundra of the Northeast right now.
First of all, I want the audience to know, and actually, Ian's going to laugh, and he probably should. That's fine. Uh, I actually do take mental preparation for any time I shoot content, like, pretty seriously. Like, I have to do some things that put me in a good mood before I come on the air. I can't really record if I'm in a bad mood. So I was bumping Eric Pride's Call on Me, which, of course, is heavily samples the Steve Winwood song Valerie, which I didn't know until, like, I was unintentionally became a Steve Winwood fan because of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, listening to Higher Love because Dennis liked it and then being like, this guy's fucking amazing. And then becoming a huge Steve Winwood fan after the fact. But I'm in a good mood. Dude, I love harsh weather the same way that I love harsh workouts. Like, I am keenly aware that these experiences make you a better person. I think that, I think you could move to a warmer climate as you did, but your consciousness was formed in shitty northeastern weather. And I just think I think harsh weather breeds some of the best people, in particular cold. I just think it's awesome. Now, granted, I wasn't the happiest person in the world when I spent hour and a half with a bad back digging out my parking spot in front of the house only to have some Neanderthal steal it. The second I decided to drive around the neighborhood to see how drivable the area was for my smaller car, my Honda Accord that I own. So I'm in a Chevy Traverse, it's like a monster truck, just plowing through the snow. And I'm like, I wonder if my au pair is going to be able to drive around in this. And of course, when I come back, someone has stolen my spot. Funny side note to this, I was enraged that somebody would do this. This is a direct violation of all ethics in harsh weather. And my neighbor, like, was shoveling out his mom's spot. And I come over and I'm like, you see who did this? He was like, listen, bro, I pulled up the street. I saw the spot was empty. I parked 2 blocks away to not disrespect your hard work. And I'm like, yeah, we got to do something about this. So I walk over and I just start piling the snow back on top of this guy's car. And this guy sees it and he's like, I'm in. And with 2 enraged white men just piling snow as much as we possibly could, the guys come out of the house to pull the car away. And I'm sitting in my car that my neighbor let me park in front of his house. I'm like, it's like a stakeout. Like, I want to see who would dare do this. You know what I mean? And of course, these 2 guys get out and they're like, what the hell's going on? They go into whatever house they were at and they get garden spades because they didn't have shovels. And they're trying to dig the car out with, like, garden spades. I'm in my car cracking up. I'm like, you fucking earned this. Of course, the second they pulled away, I just drove my monster truck right on top of the snow. No issue whatsoever. But yeah, the more extreme conditions, they bring out the best and worst in humanity. You know, I
Well
forged a
said. Well
brotherhood with my
said.
neighbor, forged a
Yeah.
brotherhood of spite and revenge and extreme justice with my neighbor. And then it also brought out the thieving instinct in a couple of lowlives that have no respect for another man's hard work, nor his property.
It's definitely tough to park over there. Not defending these guys. Definitely tough to park in that area that you're in, especially with crazy amounts of snow. But now, what do you think? I've led the Northeast because of that exact situation. Not the stealing of the parking space so much, but the shoveling of the snow, the dealing with harsh conditions. I just wanted to live the dream in sunny, beautiful weather all the time. Have
Suffering
you
is
lost
the dream.
have you lost
Suffering
respect
is
for
the
me
dream. All
because
right.
I've changed my environment?
I think you've gotten soft. Okay. If we were to reenact the Predator handshake, it would be you who's been pushing too many pencils, sir. Okay. And by that, I mean flipping too many burgers out on the fucking grill with your little pool skimmer, taking the dead flies off your fucking in-ground pool. You don't have that visceral tendon strength that comes from shoveling out snow. Okay. The extreme ownership of ranges of motion of deep spinal flexion as you're digging out disgusting, wet,
Dude,
iced over snow.
I maintain that shoveling will always and forever be a low back activity. There's
People
no
are such
ergonomic
pussies, dude.
shovel. There's no technique. I've tried every technique known to man. My low back takes a fucking beating every
Dude,
time I try to do it. So
dude, it's just like people who aren't strong. telling you like the safe way to deadlift. It's
Yeah.
like, listen,
Yeah.
if you're gonna fucking deadlift like big boy weight, whatever it is for your genetics and for your weight class, look,
Yeah.
your lower back's gonna take a beating. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Whether
Part
it's
of
in
it.
training, whether it's in competition day, pulling maximally. You show me a person that sits there and like perfectly bends their knees with a neutral spine when on their shovel demonstration videos, and I'll show you a motherfucker who's never shoveled real snow. Okay, like when you're out there and you've got like and like you're on top of like snow, like trying to dig out other snow, like you have to round your back. Like there's no like perfectly scooping this up like it's a little bit of shale,
Yeah.
you know, and then on top of that, like it could be iced over, so you go to dig it out and it's like heavier than you think. So then like your legs lock out a little early. What are you gonna do? You can't just quit. You gotta muscle it through. Okay.
Yes.
And in our
Yes.
situation now, there's no place to put the snow. It's been below, well below freezing every day since this has happened, right? So when
Okay.
you're digging out the snow, there's just like mountains of snow. So now you're chucking it like over the mountains of snow. So you're like you're doing some like bizarre, lumbar thoracic rotation to like get rid of the snow. You're totally
Yeah.
right, dude. Like, yeah, obviously you shouldn't deliberately round your back when you're doing it, but all real men round their back when they dig. Okay.
Yeah.
Shut the
Yeah.
fuck up. There's no other way to do it. Okay. You got to get it done. Like you
Also,
have to get it done.
you know what I'm not doing? I'm not doing layers. Let's say if it's a foot and a half deep, I'm not doing 6 inches and then another six. I'm going to the bottom.
Yes.
It's one scoop per capita, right? Per
Yes.
area of your driveway, your
Thank you.
sidewalk. I go to
Thank you.
the ground, I scrape the ground so I don't have to go back and do it over and over again. For some reason, that bugs me. The multiple reps
No,
per area,
get it
per
done.
square foot. No, absolutely not. So
You
I go to the
choke up on
bottom,
that thing.
I hurt my back like a man, and like you said, heaving the snow
Yeah.
way far over your
Fuck out of
back so
here.
you can get it, on your lawn or
This is
somewhere where
this
it's
is
not
not
really,
something that I want to spend extra time doing,
no,
right? Like this is not an activity that's a hobby. It's not a fun situation. Like
no.
I take the shovel, I smash it in until I hear it grate on the pavement.
Yes.
Okay, I pick it up and I throw it. Okay, the only other thing that I would say makes sense, and I did it this year because my back had been bugging me, was I did do a couple shifts because the accumulation was bad, dude. Like it was getting up there like
Yeah.
every couple hours, like there was a few inches. So I went out 2 or 3 times before I went to bed to make sure that at least the walkways and everything else were like reasonably shoveled to make it
Sure.
easier for me the next day. But when it came to digging out the cars after those plows came, that's just man hours right there, bro. Like
Yeah. Especially
this is
when
like
snow gets hard.
every woman wants to be a dude until they got to shovel snow. And then all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, good, honey, please get out there and pick the shit up. Like, I
Yeah.
love my wife, but she, once the heavy lifting, it was like, Eric, you got to get out there. And you know
Yeah.
what? She didn't bust my balls for the rest of the day. Because I had to dig out two spots, okay, one for one car around the corner. It was my Honda Accord was buried 2/3 of the way up the fucking windows, bro. It was buried. Okay, it was almost irredeemable, honestly. Like if there was any more snow, would have been like I don't even know what we could do with this thing. It's a wrap. It's over. Okay, it took me 2 hours to get that car out of that spot, like just of straight work. I actually wore a heart rate monitor just to see like what it looked like metabolically. I was at a steady like 130 BPM for like 120 minutes.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Just
That's good
just
cardio.
chucking
You
it,
put
dude.
now playlist, do you put some angry music on and just stay angry the entire time like I used to? I would just put on some heavy, hard, angry, usually Eastern European type of metal, and I would just go to town like it was my enemy. That was kind of the only way I could get some sort of joy actually out
It
of
depends on the stage of
shoveling.
it. When I start angry, and then like when the adrenaline wears off, I'll usually put on like a podcast or something and just kind of like keep the momentum up at maybe 75-80% of my peak rage. But admittedly, when I shoveled out the front of the house and I was able to get the Chevy Traverse out, and then I went around the corner and I was like, fuck. I had to put White Zombie on like right away. I was just like,
Yeah,
it's
there
there's
you
no
go.
other way. Like this is just gonna be brutal. It got to the point where one of my neighbors, I left a 1 gallon jug of water on my front porch as I knew I was going to be sweating my ass off. So I went back to get the water. And as I'm coming over, one of my neighbors actually intervened with a snowblower because he felt so bad for me. a guy that I don't even know his name. He was just over there like, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Dude, you've been out here for this is come on, bro. This is
This could take 15
inhumane.
minutes.
Like what you're
Snow
doing to
blowers are
yourself."
awesome, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And so like he was super super helpful. So he helped me kind of
Nice.
seal the deal, at the end. But look, we're supposed to get a couple more inches this weekend, and then a couple more inches into the next week. So this is probably one of the worst winters that I can remember in
Yes.
New York.
Yes.
And the thing that's so funny, I'll kind of close this out with this. I went to New Hampshire. I used to go to New Hampshire a lot. I have a couple of good friends that live up there. One year I went up for Thanksgiving, and there was going to be a blizzard around the time of Thanksgiving. So I went up like a day or two earlier to make sure I wasn't stuck in the snow. The time I was driving, I think a Mazda 3, so I would have been doomed. There's no way that I would have gotten through this blizzard.
No.
In these colder states where snow is a guarantee, the infrastructure around getting rid of the snow is so impressive that they would laugh at what we got. But in New York, and New York's got a lot of problems, and I can't wait to leave. But like, you can't really justify putting that much money because there might be some years where you don't get any snow,
It's
right?
true.
So
That's true.
everyone who's doing it is like a part timer. That's you know what I mean. In New
Or
Hampshire, I will never.
landscapers that
Yeah,
also do it.
exactly. I remember in New Hampshire, like every traffic light had like underneath it like an orange siren that when it was a blizzard, those sirens would go on. They'd be all over town and everybody was out. Front end loaders, everything. The roads were pretty much perfectly navigatable throughout the entire storm. Okay. The only problem was just the parking, like, and then they had that figured out by the next day. Like, because in
Okay.
those areas, if you don't get on top of it, like, people are going to like starve to death in their houses. Like,
Yes.
like we're
It can
talking
get
like
really
snow
dangerous.
over your car. Like, you don't just get out. Like, you are fucked. Like, you are completely fucked. Like, I remember driving through the White Mountains in New Hampshire one summer, and when you go into the back area, it's a beautiful scenic route, right? And there was like a sign that basically said like, this is closed in inclement weather because they're not going to plow those areas, these mountain trails. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
can't have a
Yeah.
front end loader taking a fucking diver off of like
No.
a right. So
Jesus.
like, if you're in a situation like I got a buddy who lives in Maine, in the middle of nowhere, like you need to have like food in your house. Like you
Stocked
may
up.
yeah, like you may be stuck for a long, long time, right? Like, long time, you know.
Yeah, I got a
Uh
story for you about so the plow guys where you live. I'm not going to name names, name towns. People may know already, but the plow guys from where you live have a funny sense of humor. So that during this last election, it got pretty heated. That's safe to say. So everybody started putting lawn signs out, and whatever lawn signs that they didn't feel that were in line with their voting direction, they just would either not plow them or they would plow their driveways in so tight, like and pack the snow so tight, like multiple battering ram version where, they couldn't get out for like at least a week. And it wasn't even that bad of snow, but they would pick and choose selectively based on lawn signs,
Listen,
and they
dude,
would basically have selective treatment based
one
on
of
their
the lessons that
political
I learned
affiliations.
early on, it's not something that you would naturally think of as something that's important, but anyone in our audience who doesn't know this, you never ever fuck with sanitation workers.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, I give them money. Like, I will put an envelope every Christmas out there. Okay? I don't even give a fuck which one of them gets it, as long as my house is in the green on that route.
Yeah.
Because I know dudes who are sanitation workers that will tell you, like, let's say some houses in certain neighborhoods, they don't use garbage bags. So you go to throw the garbage out and there's just a metal garbage can filled with like rotten food. Dude,
What?
they will annihilate your car. Like, they will suplex that fucking garbage like onto the hood of your car. Okay, they will knock your mailbox over. Okay, they'll like accidentally spill it all over your front lawn. Like, these are not people that you fuck with. Yeah,
Accidentally.
like it's
Yeah.
not even close. I got stuck in one snowstorm. And I tell my au pair this all the time because she's really young, and she'll go out in bad weather in like, trying to look good and not be prepared. It was one year I was working at Roosevelt Field Mall, I remember it was the day after Christmas, which was historically like the busiest shopping day of the year, right? And there was a blizzard, a huge blizzard. Okay. And obviously you're in the mall, so you can't see outside. You're not checking. If I was working a regular retail location, at some point I'm like, I'm leaving. I don't give a fuck, right? And I
Sure.
remember security guard came up to me and was like, dude, listen, if you don't get the fuck out of here, you're going to be sleeping at this mall tonight. And I was like, oh shit.
Damn.
So and long story short, I kind of wish I would have slept in the mall because the a huge amount of the mall employees got stuck in the mall overnight. It must have been the best party ever, dude.
Yeah.
It must have
Yeah.
been a phenomenal party. Okay.
In the food court with
Yeah.
bourbon chicken.
I decided, okay, I'm gonna take my coworker home who had to take the bus to like Jamaica, right? And at the time I was driving a Nissan Sentra and we got stuck, man. We got stuck bad. Okay. Not to mention, not first of all, the kid didn't even know how to get to his house. So we might have been able to get to his house. I still would have been fucked going home, but he literally didn't even put the right address into his GPS. It was complete chaos.
To his own
My,
house?
what did you say?
He didn't put his own address into the
Yeah,
GPS? Like,
it
he got
was,
his
it
own
was,
address
yeah,
wrong?
yeah, it was that bad, dude. Okay. Long story short, I wasn't dressed properly. I had no gloves, no hat, and I had no shovel. Some random bystander gave me a shovel, and we're getting stuck like every 10 minutes and getting out and digging out the wheels and getting stuck. And my hair is so frozen that you could snap it off my head. I was complete like frostbite level, like hands were purple. Finally, my mom shows up in a truck, okay? And we're just trying to get home. I tell this kid, listen, you're sleeping in my house tonight. There's no way I'm getting you home, right? We get stuck in the Sentra. Now my mom is driving the Sentra and I'm like blazing a path for her in the truck in front, okay? She gets stuck and she gets out and accidentally locks the keys in the car in the
Oh.
ignition with the car in drive, okay?
What?
So now the
Not just
car
on, in
yeah,
drive?
yeah, and the car is trying to creep forward and my mom, she's a woman, obviously, just has a meltdown. Like, this is a horrible situation. It's freezing cold. This was during a particularly egregious or tough election year in New York City. So, lo and behold, the reason why I thought of this was some of the sanitation workers just drove around with the plows up to fuck the city because they had some, I don't know who was the
Wow.
mayor at the time. They weren't getting what they wanted, and they're like, all right, let's see how much you need us. Okay, so because I was in Queens at this point, I was fucked, right? There was a dude, a plumber, I'm not joking, who was literally had just given up on going home and was sleeping in his van overnight. Okay.
So dangerous.
So I knock on the guy's van and I'm like, listen, dude, I need something to break the window. I got to get in this car. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So the guy gives me like a wrench and my mom like insists, like, I screwed it up. I'll break the window. Right. But she's like hitting the glass like she's like there's some type of minimum damage you can do to glass. Like she doesn't want to hurt it. Like the glass is either broken or it's not. Like there's no like,
You might as well go full
yeah, yeah.
throttle.
She's like, eh, eh. And the dude just wants to go back to sleep in his van, and he's like, "Give me that." She gives him like he takes the fucking monkey wrench. He's like, she just smashes it. He's like, "Have a good day." Just gets in his car, goes right back to sleep. Okay. Now the back seat is covered in broken glass. There's snow coming in. Okay. We finally get back to West Hempstead, which where I lived at the time, but we get stuck at least a mile, if not 2 miles away from my house. We just ditch the Sentra. Just leave it. Okay. Uh, take the truck, get home. This kid was stuck on my house for 3 days because of the snow
Wow.
situation. Okay. And keep in mind now, the entire time, my car has no window in a blizzard. So,
Yeah.
like it was totally insane. By the time I get back to it, like the interior of the car was frozen, right? It was just fucked. But point is, I almost froze to death. Like if I was stuck out there, that's the other thing. I didn't have I left the house with like maybe half a tank of gas, but you're blasting the heat, you're stuck in traffic, the car is running. Like
Goes
I was
quick.
gonna run out of gas,
Yeah.
and I would freeze to death. So at this point, I don't fuck around. Like when I get in a car in bad weather, even if I'm not wearing it, I've got gloves, hat, blanket, the whole fucking nine because if you are in the middle of nowhere and you break down, like you will die. Like
Yeah.
it's not a question, like you will freeze to death because no one will find you.
Unfortunately, I see like news reports pop up all over the country like that. People tried to leave their house or their job to get home and they got stuck. And Also, the running your car, if it's the snow is tall enough, it can just block the exhaust pipe and just
and you done.
basically
You done.
asphyxiate you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I forgot
that's
about that. You're right about that. Yes,
it's no good. So
very
in
true.
some parts of the country where it is feet and feet of snow, it's
Yeah,
really really dangerous to.
yeah.
You can't just hunker down in your car either.
But
But
I went and I lifted the day of the blizzard. No plows on the road. My 4-wheel drive vehicle. I was just
right,
in a full rage on my way to the gym, and with the exception of my chest, I had a phenomenal workout. Okay,
okay.
felt like I had really gone to war with the elements. So what else are you gonna say? I think the harsh weather breeds tough people. You know. However, I will admit that the inconvenience caused by the complete evaporation of parking spaces is going to cause a real problem over the course of the next couple of weeks. Like, I
Yes.
left 45 minutes early to teach jujitsu the other day in anticipation of not being able to find a spot for over a half hour.
Yeah, that's you have to layer this into your daily routine.
Yeah, it's just
Sucks.
snow 15 feet high, right in these public parking lots, and it just eliminates a dozen spots.
Yep.
Same people
Yep.
are still going to work, still going to the
Yeah.
gym.
And then there's in the rest of the parking lot, there's still a little bit of snow, so you can't see the lines. So everyone's just kind of parking
Dude,
wherever.
yes. Thank you. There's a man who knows. Even though he's become
Yeah.
soft in his old age, he understands what the struggle was once like.
I
You
was
know,
there. I was there.
absolutely. Now,
Boots on the ground, all right?
exactly. You've retired. You've earned it. You've earned it. Okay.
Yeah.
How's your training
Retired
going, bud?
early. My training is going great. I am starting to dabble into the big 3, bench, squat, and deadlift. So, I've been doing for the squat and deadlift, I've been kinda easing into it. So, I've been doing, like, a hypertrophy day for legs, and then the next day I'll do a strength day, and then I'll go back and forth. Whereas every press day, my chest press day, I'll start with the barbell bench press, and I'll do some low rep work, and then I'll do all my accessory and higher rep, like hypertrophy style type of work. So I'm having a lot of fun with it, honestly, because it feels really good to lift heavy again. But yeah, my sleep's been good. I've been getting pretty, my nutrition's been pretty good. I'm trying to slim down a little bit, which does not bode well for the strength gains. But I feel like when I get fat, I just lose position and my body can't get in the same positions that it used to, especially with my deadlift. So I'm just trying to stay lean, especially I'm on camera more often here, with social media now.
It
You don't want
matters.
to be, I like being thick. I like being husky. I prefer it, but you look like crap at the pool. You look like crap, when you're trying to meet people in person. You just look like a
Now
big
you miss the cold weather, don't you?
linebacker.
You fucking fruitcake.
No, I don't.
Now you
No,
miss being
no.
able to put on that fucking crew neck, okay, and just
Fluff.
walk out of the house. No one cares, okay. Now you got to be
Yeah.
pool ready all year long. You chose your fate, pal. Okay, you
That's a
chose your
great
fate. You
point.
you
It's
you
a
got
great
no
point.
bulking season, buddy. Okay, you're gonna
No.
have to accept that fat shame at least some time of the year. Okay. Me, I'm good to go, man. You know what I mean? I peak for Memorial Day, and then it's all downhill from there, baby. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I am clamoring. I'm chomping at the bit for our physique of the week. So I'm gonna get right into it if
Oh
you don't
God.
mind.
Oh
I
boy.
chose it. I was gonna go last week. You got me, and I didn't. I couldn't choose it. I couldn't guess who your physique of the week. Pretty embarrassing. So I wanted to go take a deep dive into somebody I know you would never get just to throw it in your face, but I didn't. I'm gonna show you respect, and I'm gonna make sure you have a shot at guessing this week's physique. And if this week is a transformation, it's not just a physique in one stage. It's two two ends of the spectrum here. All right. So are you ready for your clues?
Let's see it.
And for the audience, I want to give some context here who hasn't maybe haven't seen the segment before. Physique of the week we turned into a guessing game. So I'm gonna fire some clues out at Eric, and you are more than welcome to try to guess along. And at what number clue can you guess? Let's find out. So this transformation happened in the early 2000s, and it shocked Hollywood. That's number
Okay.
one.
Keep going.
Okay. Number two, the person intentionally lost a dangerous amount of weight for a role.
Christian Bale.
Damn it. Yes.
Christian
You,
Bale.
but what's the transformation in question then?
Well, it's like a double transformation. He became emaciated to the point of losing cognitive function for The Machinist. Okay.
Correct.
Which is a movie I still haven't seen. I watched the first like 10 or 15 minutes of it when my daughter was a baby, and it didn't grip me enough to keep me awake. I had to put on
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
But it's on my list of things to watch. And then of course his next role after that, after that was Batman Begins,
Yes.
where he was bigger for Batman Begins than he was for any of the other Batman movies. I think actually he probably gained, I want to say 80 or 90 pounds from the machinist weight to
You
play
said 100.
Batman. And I think he actually had to lose some weight to fit in the suit because whatever they had it tailored at was not going to fit his like newer dimensions. And I also know, as an aside, as part of his demands for coming back to do the Dark Knight, he demanded that they get rid of the traditional Batman mask where you can't turn your head, because he said that
Like
it
the
was yeah,
Michael
because he
Keaton where
said
you
it
have to
was
turn your whole
so
torso.
painful. It was such a vice grip on his head that he
Yeah.
was like, "I'm in, but you got to get me like a normal helmet. Like I'm not wearing this like constrictor thing for like hours on end," which is why
Yeah.
in the Dark Knight they came up with a little, you know, oh, you want to be able to turn your head. It would be lighter and faster. It was more like Christian Bale's not doing this movie if he's stuck in the same thing over and over again. And
Okay.
he looks good on the right here, bro. He looks
He
good.
does, he
Yeah.
does. Looks full. He was in great shape for American Psycho, if you ever saw that movie. He was in
Yes.
incredible shape where they do a scene early in the movie where he's working out in his apartment, and he's in incredible shape, lean as hell, looks
Yeah.
still pretty full. He's much bigger and bulkier in Batman here. I just thought it was so incredibly impressive how he could, first of all, get down to the machinist. Like, the mental anguish. People talk about the mental challenges of cutting weight for a wrestling match or for a mixed martial arts, fight. To get to that level of, it's really starvation. And I
Yes.
don't know how he was able to act and focus on anything with that level of emaciation. It's crazy. It's crazy to me how he can go from that to real commitment. And I will tell you, I saw The Machinist. It's not a great movie. It's
No,
not, you're not missing much. The most impressive part is the transformation, like, is what he got to. That's really kind of what the draw of the movie for me was. I just wanted to see him in that role. But no, it's not a great movie. He's good because he's always good.
I know that he eventually, I think he gained a lot of weight to play Dick Cheney, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And I think after that he was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Like I'm doing fat suits. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't keep destroying my body
Yes.
to play these roles. And I'm sure there was a lot of stimulant use to be able to be functional on set. You know
Think
what I
so?
mean? Like, I'm for sure, dude. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
they don't drug test Hollywood. There'd be no actors left, right? So,
It's true. It's
like
true.
I'm sure there was massive amounts of stimulant use. I will say that I do believe, and maybe I'm in the minority when I say this, I do believe that it was possible for him to go from machinist to Batman naturally. He's not that jacked in Batman to where it's like that's unattainable naturally.
True.
The question is just like the timeline and everything else. But I think at that point the rebound must be so intense in terms of the way the weight just piles onto you,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of the training for Batman was done naturally. Uh, the only thing that kind of comes to my head is like, how badly did he cook his endocrine system being that frail? Like, how much
Yes.
did he fuck up his testosterone and his growth hormone, and how obviously his cortisol must have been out of control. So it would have been interesting to see if I doubt there was, but how responsible the quote unquote reverse dieting was out of that into something else. I'm sure he just started binging because at that point you probably just go crazy, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
and what most people don't realize about weight loss and weight gain, the longer you hold a certain body weight, the less likely your body wants to try to get rid of that or try
for
to
sure.
shake that up. So, the good thing for him was I don't think he was at that machinist emaciated weight for very long. So he got down, it's almost like a fighter. You get down to, or a physique athlete on stage, you get down to that, you know, stage ready, let's call it film ready for the machinist at that very low body weight. He was maybe there for a few months filming, and then he was able to replenish, and most of
Yes.
it comes from replenishment,
Yes.
right? So I'm sure he lost a lot of muscle, and gaining 100 pounds in a year doesn't sound like it's going to be a lot of muscle because it's such an aggressive timeline. But most of that was just refeeding his body what it
Of course.
lost so
Glycogen in
significantly.
water.
So
Glycogen in water.
exactly,
It makes a
exactly.
huge difference, dude. It makes a huge difference in term. I mean, that's generally if like I wish I was doing content the last time that I got my wife pregnant, and I bet I could have documented my journey from being off TRT for about a year and a half, 2 years, to then getting back into shape. Like just the glycogen boost that you get from being on testosterone is insane.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's part
Yeah.
of the
I
reason
don't
why people
I
who
don't
are
know.
enhanced look better than you, even if they have the same amount of muscle, is just that they retain so much more glycogen,
It's
right?
like walking around with a pump, essentially,
That's
right?
kind
It's
of,
kinda
yeah,
like
to an extent. And the thing is, though, it is funny as someone who's not a physique athlete, you do run into issues though, right? Because like uh having used PEDs while doing jujitsu and having been around a lot of guys who use PEDs while doing jujitsu, you do find that the extreme pumps could make you worse at jujitsu. Like I've seen guys that are gassed to the gills, and sometimes I'll let them have a go at my neck because I know that their arm's going to be useless.
really?
You get a dude who doesn't have that much experience, and you let him grab you in a guillotine, and you know how to defend. That arm's useless, dude. That much isometric tension with,
Because of how much energy they're
yeah,
expending and
with
how much
six,
blood
800,
being
1,000 grams of androgens in your body, you could see it. Like they let go, and their arm is just, and I'm like, now you're fucked. Now I got you. Like now I'm gonna pass your guard to that side, and you can't even frame because your arm is so cooked. So like sometimes in combat sports, the pump and the glycogen retention can be a bad thing because you get these crazy pumps, which makes your heart rate go up, obviously, but it could render certain parts of your body useless
Yeah. And a
for
question
periods
for
of
you.
time.
So, with someone like that, though, let's say if it was an actual fight, like an actual, mixed martial arts, whatever, and would they turn that into a neck crank and just try and twist your head off? Because if you
Probably,
don't
yeah.
if they can't commit to the guillotine and they're not getting it, instead of gassing out, they still have a lot of strength. So I'm sure that strength could still translate to a different direction
A lot of the
and
time, dude, a front headlock position, you're not always tapping to the choke. You are tapping to the neck crank, right? I mean,
got it.
it's yes, the choke is best because it requires the least amount of strength, and you could sit in a neck crank for a while as long as you don't give a fuck about your neck and as long as you know you're not going to die. Okay, if you're willing to eat it, you could eat it. Okay, a choke, you will go unconscious. So in the context of combat, the referee stops the fight when you're unconscious.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So the choke is always going to be preferable. There's no question about it. But like I've heard of even strategies, and the person in question wasn't on PEDs, but just to give you an idea of how much this plays, I remember George St. Pierre saying he studied BJ Penn. He had some like nerd on his staff that used to figure out fighters' reaction times by the amount of frames it took them to get their guard up and then throw a punch. And that calculated that BJ Penn in his prime had the fastest reaction time of any fighter in MMA, bar none. Okay.
Wow.
And so what George did in that fight, and if you go back and watch, he says he did this, and if you watch the fight, he did do it. He did a lot of fakes, like fake level changes to
Like
get
fainting
BJ's arms down to come up and throw a jab. And he spent a huge amount of the first 2 rounds doing that, trying to get BJ's shoulders filled with blood. Okay.
to keep them up
Yeah.
here, to keep them
It
up.
just kept,
Got it.
and then once he felt like BJ's reaction time was slowing, then he really started to pour the offense on because now he's just a little bit slower. The odds of me getting punished in an exchange are a little bit less, and then he wound up stopping him. I think 3 or 4 rounds into the fight.
He was so much bigger, though. Didn't BJ Penn come up for that fight
Yeah, I mean,
to the
listen,
welterweight?
for sure, but like he fought him once before and got destroyed in the first round. His nose broken, everything because he underestimated BJ's quickness and power. So coming into that next fight, he kind of understood like he actually deliberately didn't take advantage of his size and strength until later because he didn't want to be in that striking range. It was
Yeah.
all his quickness and strategy. And then when you couple that with now this guy's tired and I'm throwing my weight onto him, now it's kind of game over
I
at
miss
that point.
watching BJ Penn. His takedown defense, I still think was with the best in history. It was incredible. I mean, I haven't seen all the new guys these days, so there could be some freaks that I don't know about, but his I forget, was it Diego Sanchez? He was standing on one leg for, like, 3 straight rounds. Basically, Diego had one leg, and BJ was just, hopping around, and he just could not take him down for the life of him. I mean,
BJ
GSP had
Penn,
some of the best takedowns in MMA history,
he's
so
like
that
the
didn't
Roy
bode well.
Jones Jr. of MMA insofar as his physical abilities let him develop a game that was not the most technically sound in terms of what you teach the largest sample size of people. So, like, Roy Jones had amazing speed, an unbelievable speed and reaction time. And they used to call him Captain Hook because he would just throw lead left hooks. He didn't even need to jab. That's how fast he was.
Wow.
Okay. He would throw lead left hooks and lead right straights against, and he was a right handed fighter, against top level fighters and just tune them up. Now, how do you trade for someone like that? You can't. How many guys in the world actually move like Roy Jones? Virtually none of them, right? Like, he was that unique. BJ Penn did not do a lot of traditional takedown defense. There are guys that have takedown defense that's on the same level, but they're using what's taught in a wrestling practice. Throwing in an overhook, breaking the opponent's posture down, sprawling them to the mat and standing up. He just had such incredible dexterity and also uh, incredible strength at extreme ranges of motion, which is also a kind of a thing that people don't think about. A lot of times when people are at the end of a range of motion of a joint, they're very, very weak, and it's almost a strategy to get them there. BJ was weirdly strong. I've trained with guys like this. They're very rare that have incredible strength at extreme ranges, and you just can't prepare for somebody like that. You know,
Sure.
you could be go to the Iowa, or probably this case even better, the Penn State wrestling room to train for a fight, and you're going to train against all wrestlers who are technically proficient that do everything right. But then when you go into a match and the guy is willing to just bounce around on one leg and use the other hand to punch you in the face, how do you prepare? You can't prepare for that.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
it's almost impossible, and that's before you get into the ability to chain submissions off of that, right? So he just had an incredibly unique game. The only person who adapted to it was George St. Pierre, and he figured it out later in the first fight. He in the third round he figured it out, and then he definitely figured it out, really figured it out in the other fight, which was you have to pick him up. You
Yeah.
have to get deep enough to clasp your hands and pick them up. You're not going to shoot a single leg and run the pipe, and just drag him to the ground. You had to get into clinch range, and you had to be able to physically pick him up and put him on the mat. It's the only way to take someone like that and put them down. And in that instance, I think maybe his lack of some fundamentals in that position actually probably hurt him, because he's
Interesting.
so many people can't clinch you that maybe you don't have that inside game to where you have a good base and you know how to pummel and get the person off balance.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, when you're able to punch people and keep them on the end of your jab with such great speed and power, most guys aren't going to clinch you. They're not willing to take that risk. Like, it's they're very, very, and even
To
if they
take
are,
the
they're supposed
abuse
to be able to
coming
do it.
in to get to you,
Yes,
you think?
exactly. But
Understood.
again, for my money, I think you could make a case that, like, John Jones is probably the greatest fighter of all time in terms of, like, going in and winning. But I think that George St. Pierre is the greatest martial artist of all time,
Mm.
meaning that I don't think a single human being, at least that we know of, that's done it on a competitive level, has showed greater mastery of all three or four phases of mixed martial arts. He's won top level fights with just his hands. Okay. He's finished top level guys with his feet. Okay. He's strangled guys and finished them on the ground. I mean, he strangled Michael Bisping. He armbarred Matt Hughes. Okay. And he's taken down some of the greatest fighters ever. Okay. And
Yeah.
unlike John Jones, he doesn't have an extreme build. Like, John Jones being built the way he's built at 205 he could maybe technically not be the best, but because of his athleticism and fight IQ and just bizarre dimensions, he's able to win a lot of fights.
Yeah.
GSP
The
was
range.
5'10. He's normal dimensions. So I've never seen a person who had more mastery of every aspect of mixed martial arts. A guy that was like a legitimate black belt at everything.
Yeah.
And like, that's the kind of guy that beats a BJ Penn. You
He's
know,
always so much fun to watch. And what fascinates me about mixed martial arts and fights in general is that every night is different, right? So people show up on certain days and they look
yep.
better, they don't look so good. I've seen, a lot of my favorites over the years, Fedor and, BJ Penn when he fought Frankie Edgar. You can just tell some of these fighters when they walk in that they're not looking good. They're not sharp, they're not on, they're having an
Mhm.
off night already. As the fight gets going, it's very apparent typically, especially with the Frankie Edgar thing. BJ Penn couldn't figure him out. He couldn't
Yep.
get a good, you know, strong contact on him. He was just such a like a little gnat. He was just buzzing around and used that busybody strategy to overwhelm BJ Penn's, kind of that counter punching and those
Well,
heavy hits.
I'll give you this. The other challenge in the sport is what's your identity as a martial artist? So BJ Penn, for most of his career, was the smaller guy. Okay. He fought as high as heavyweight. Okay. He fought at 170. He did not necessarily have that he, the style of a big man.
Okay.
Okay. So when he fights Frankie Edgar that first time, they're both still in their primes. Okay. BJ was actually the larger man, but who was slower. How many times has BJ fought an opponent like that? He didn't
Never.
necessarily have an answer for, okay, now that I'm the bigger guy, how can I slow the small guy down? So
Yeah.
much of his style was really based on reaction time, speed, quickness, technique. But now he comes in there and he's actually slower and bigger than his opponent. He didn't really have an answer for that. And you see
Okay.
that a lot in jiu-jitsu. Like, I'll just use myself as an example. Like, I weigh 225 right now, right? I'm usually one of the bigger guys in a practice room. Okay. So I usually use big man tactics, but every now and again, I'll face a guy that's bigger than me. Okay. Maybe a lot bigger than me. Now I have to actually remember how to grapple like a little guy. It's all
Yeah.
relative, right? So I think
Different style.
for BJ, for a period of time, there was no 155 division. He leaves the UFC. He's fighting whoever will pay him at whatever weight class. He learned how to beat bigger guys, which leaned heavily into flexibility, speed, and technique. Okay. He didn't necessarily have the ability of a John Jones. I'm the biggest guy at 205, and I'm going to use that to slow you down and lean on you. And I think that's what you saw in that first Frankie Edgar fight was he just didn't have an answer for it. And I think part of
Yeah.
that is he was notorious in a lot of cases for not having the best coaches. When he did have the best coaches, he was unbeatable. When he didn't, he just kind of went in the gym and scrapped and then went home. And if they had found better sparring partners for him that might have emulated Frankie and made him figure out
That's fair.
how to use the clinch and be heavy, lean on him, take away the speed, and then eventually maybe put Frankie away in rounds 3 or 4, he may very well win that fight. But he just didn't have an answer for that. Whereas
Or
George
the
St.
answer.
Pierre,
Wasn't Frankie Edgar's
that's
nickname
right,
the answer?
that's right, and meanwhile GSP had the best coaches, even
Always.
in each individual discipline. I mean, jiu-jitsu and MMA, John Danaher, genius. When he was in Canada, Faraz Sahabi, who was a disciple of John Danaher, genius. When he went to learn boxing, he went to fucking Las Vegas and learned from Freddie Roach, genius. Okay. When he was wrestling, he wrestled with the Canadian national team, many of which were actual imports from the Soviet Union.
Oh,
Genius. Okay.
wow.
So here's a dude that he learned how to deal with every style from the best people in each individual discipline. And I don't necessarily think BJ had that,
No.
and like
I
that's
heard
the
he
shame
hated
of
to
it.
train. I heard BJ
Yeah,
hated the preparation. He
yeah,
just wanted to fight. So he
yes.
didn't really train very hard a lot of times. He would come in out of shape because he thought his skill set and his acumen would actually get him through, whereas GSP really leaned into the training,
Love to
and
train.
he was probably loved it. I don't know, maybe more than the fights.
Wait,
So he was so
decidedly,
prepared. Yes.
decidedly.
You know what I miss? I miss the corner pep talks from Firas Zahabi in those fights. I feel like he turned it on for something different for GSP, like when he came in and calmed him down and he
Yeah,
would
of
like
course.
center him and focus him. You just don't hear that anymore. You just hear like a bunch of mumbo jumbo from some Guidos. You don't really hear like a methodical, like psychological approach from the corner men that you really should. I think that was a really cool feature that Firas Zahabi brought into GSP's
Well, so you're probably
arsenal.
thinking there's Faraz, and then actually he did a lot of his MMA camps with Greg Jackson in New Mexico because that's where he had
Oh
the
yeah,
the
he
the the
that's
the most access. So when it was time for him to train for a
that's
fight,
right.
he would train in New Mexico because that's where the biggest sample size of elite fighters existed for him.
Okay.
Now, um, George St. Pierre was famous for being a legitimate flight risk before fights. He was terrified of fighting.
Wow.
They had to have someone to watch him because he was out of his mind with fear all the entire time until he set foot in the cage. He was okay.
That's
He
crazy.
was okay. By his own admission, George St. Pierre just loved the lifestyle. I just want to work out all day. I don't want to go to work. I
Right?
just want to work out all day. And like to this day, dude, like to his credit, like He'll take a trip down to Austin, Texas, where John Danaher lives now, and train there for a week because he wants to learn something new. Like, he just loves to train. Like, and that's why he was never fat. Okay,
Ever.
even when he took 3 or 4 years off after the Johnny Hendricks fight, he was he was training the entire time.
In great shape.
Yeah, he was in great shape.
Yeah. You ever see the memes with, the Paddy Pimblett and GSP? It's like, this guy is 4 years out of mixed martial arts, and GSP is just shredded, and then Paddy Pimblett, this guy's 4 weeks after his fight, and he's just fat as shit.
Disgusting, disgusting mess. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, George St. Pierre just loved to train. Like, he was obsessed with the process of training and learning new stuff.
Yeah.
And that was ultimately why he was probably always going to get the better of BJ on given enough runs at him. George just had too many ways to win.
Yes.
Again, like, you could still be a champion in mixed martial arts. I mean, we've seen it now by just being an expert at one thing. It still works. You could be like a Marab and just be a takedown machine, and you will be a dominant world champion like Marab was. But the ability to do it all and to just use it, like, let's say that you are a black belt in kickboxing and boxing, and wrestling, but your jiu-jitsu is not great. Well, George St. Pierre had the ability to find a way to get his jiu-jitsu against your jiu-jitsu. He
Got it.
always had a way to get one of his black belt skills against one of your blue belt or purple belt skills. And that's just
Understood.
such an incredibly difficult and rare thing. And I guess you really have to love to train to do that. You know, a lot
Yeah.
of guys who don't love to train, all they really do is they get out of shape, they get in shape, they hone what they're good at, and they bring what they're good at into the cage. It takes a lot
But
of humility to go to, say, train with John Danaher. Uh, and this is when, during his break, is when John Danaher exploded onto the scene as a top level jiu-jitsu coach. He was already known behind the scenes as a great coach, but this is when his athletes started dominating the jiu-jitsu scene. I mean, George is going to train in New York City and getting submitted every single day by nobodies.
got it.
Not everybody has the capacity to do that.
Like, from an ego standpoint, you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Got
yeah,
it. Yeah, also, because he was so well-rounded, he was able to take the fight in any direction he wanted.
precisely.
Let's say you are a great, like a Damian Maia, for example. Because for so long his hands weren't up to par, he would just have to, like, sneakily get in and try to grab a leg or latch onto someone to take him into deep water on the ground, whereas when you have so many well-rounded skills that you're pretty much on par or better than the other guy in every camp, you can take the fight wherever you want, and it's
Exactly.
kinda up to you. Whereas most guys who have a specialty, they don't really have that ability.
No, if they can execute, they win. If they don't, they lose.
Yes.
And
Yes,
it's just like that simple.
exactly.
It's that
Yeah.
it still happens today, dude. It still happens today. Now, I wanted to talk about some stuff. I made some changes to my training. My back is still fucked
Do
up.
tell.
Um,
How bad?
I can't do
Like 1 to
jujitsu.
10?
I can't do 5. Like, I can demonstrate technique as a teacher on lighter people. Um, it's pretty stiff in the morning. I'm pretty concerned about deadlifting right now.
Okay.
Uh, so I had already told you I was thinking about making some changes to more of like a West Side style program.
Sure.
And, necessity is the mother of all invention. And this week, didn't want to miss another lower body week. And I was like, I can't go to the gym and even pull for sets of 5 to 8. Like, I just, especially off the floor. So I was thinking of, okay, like, how could I keep my spine in a safe position while still training the muscles that'll make me good at jujitsu and help my pull. And so I had this kind of aha moment. I'm like, all right, how about some Anderson squats? So squatting from pins. Okay.
Saw that
And
on
then I
your
was like,
LinkedIn.
okay, still can be a little dicey, even if it's above parallel with with the back squat. So
Breaking off the pins is really tough
yeah,
for your low back.
yeah.
It's a big sticking point.
So when I found my front squat harness and I brought it into the gym. And after kind of experimenting with the best heights, I did heavy sets of 5 Anderson front squats. Dude, I could not recommend that exercise enough.
Yeah?
I've never seen anyone do them. I'm sure someone has done them. I usually see people use the safety bar for Anderson squats.
Sure.
It's the best way to get into position. Dude, that first, the reason why I did sets of five, first of all, my training partners are not advanced lifters, and I didn't necessarily want them doing heavy singles,
Okay.
right? But I also quickly realized that the first rep of each set was all torso.
I saw that. I saw your torso kind of bear
The
down and
first
not
rep
not
was
buckle,
all
but
torso.
take on a
Once
lot of strain.
what I was trying to do is every time I got it back on the pins, I would pull my hips back out to kill some of the momentum, reset my hips under, and
Yeah,
then come into the squat. My
sure,
training partners were struggling. They were just like squatting and bouncing it off the pins. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't optimal for me. I was trying to explain to them like the whole point of this is to kill the momentum, not create more momentum
sure.
at what's supposed to be a sticking point. The last 4 reps, I really felt my quads and my glutes screaming.
Okay.
That just lockout, like go. And when I went back and looked at the video, my knees were starting over my toes, so it makes perfect sense. You can't hinge a front squat.
There is no
It's
hinge.
yeah. So like you have to have some degree of knee flexion. I wore Olympic shoes for that precise reason. Just I wanted the knee
Smart.
flexion. But dude, it lit up my hips, my glutes, my quads. But that first rep, it was like the entirety of my torso was firing to move that weight up. Like to go from like a totally relaxed state to moving it from a position where you don't have that much leverage. Dude, it was fucking hard, man. Like I think
Yeah,
I got up
looked like it.
to I had a little more in the tank. I got up to 265 with the idea that we'd stick with the movement for another couple weeks.
Okay.
Because my training partners, again, I this is one thing I really missed about training this way, is it is intellectually stimulating. Like you have to figure out a new lift, right? And
Yeah.
so like once I got like 185 on the bar, I was like, I know what to do. Like I know how to put my body under this. I felt like my training partners were really, they were kind of struggling. Hey, where exactly do I position my body? Where do I put my hips? Made me realize how much of a self-hating person I am, Ian, where I never want to give myself enough credit. But there
Yeah.
actually is a skill to lifting weights, people. Like, there actually is a pretty serious skill curve. Like, it's actually not easy to do some of these max effort movements, and you have to figure out, like, where are my feet? At what point do I flex this muscle or that muscle? You know, where does the bar go? Like, you know, like I've once I had enough weight on the bar, like with the empty bar, it was impossible to figure out because you're just like fidgeting and the bar is
It's not
moving. Yeah.
real. It's not
But
real
once
yet.
I had like 185 on the bar, I started to figure it out. 225, I was like, okay, I've got this figured out. Like this is we're pretty much good to go. But I'll still stick with it for another couple weeks. Next week I might do threes, and the week after I might do like singles, and then move on to another lift. But it was really fun, and it was kind of it's a fun challenge to think of like, okay, how do I get around this? Because I felt like if I got into deep flexion at the bottom, even with that front squat harness, I was putting my back at a little bit too much risk.
Yes. Yes.
And the belt squat, I feel totally okay, full range of motion with that
Okay.
exercise. And
Okay.
I did find a belt squat harness. I'm going to buy this that wraps around your shoulders, so it simulates a front squat.
Okay.
So instead
That's
of it
cool.
being around your waist, you would bring the clip all the way up to your chest, and so it pulls you down from the shoulders instead of the waist. So it's a way to simulate full range of motion front squats without the lower back and like hip issues that come from squatting.
I like
But
that.
it I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of limited range of motion stuff over the next couple weeks. I
Okay.
think I can do some rack pulls. I think the thing that would really hurt me for the deadlift is the bottom. I think if I start from
Yep.
like just below the knee, I think I'll probably be okay. But I just don't want to hurt myself again with all the snow removal shit going on. Like
Sure.
I could have taken more risks, but if my back was fucking annihilated, like dude, I was walking around like an old man for like days, and I'm like, I have work to do. I can't be out of commission like this.
Well, let me ask you your opinion on this because the vast majority, which you already know, of back injuries is the spasming of the supportive muscles around the spine to
Yes,
protect from further issues, protect
precisely.
from disc herniations, disc damage. Do you think you're just in that spasm phase where they just won't calm down, cool off? Because if so, use like a liniment of some sort. I like the liniment from Cerberus. It's like an icy hot, but way hotter.
Uh huh.
I don't know if it's as crazy as horse that we used to use in the
Uh huh.
powerlifting gyms, but if especially if you're training in the morning, you're gonna be more stiff in the morning. It's
Precisely.
cold out, you're gonna be more stiff in the winter. So you have all these other variables making you more stiff. get up. If you, I don't know if you have time to shower real quick or run hot water on it for like 15 minutes or something like that prior to. If not, just rub the liniment all over that. So by the time you get to the gym, it's fired up, it's hot, and the muscle should be a little more pliable and a little more relaxed, hopefully, than it has been.
So this is the
But
first time that I've ever done cardio before lifting in my life. I get there,
feel better.
I get right on the treadmill. Dude, it's funny. I say these things and I'm like, wow, people think I'm really crazy. I get on that treadmill in my full winter coat with the hat and gloves. Fuck that. I want as much heat as possible. Like
Yeah,
I don't care.
smart.
Like just get right on there and just start moving. It definitely was a spasm. But it was in particular, it was really bad if I sat down for any period of time. Like it would just seize up. If I
Yeah.
stood for long enough, it would actually relax. You know,
Okay.
so standing wasn't really an issue, but going from seated to standing, it really, really hurt. And it just sucks. And like I'm starting to realize, like, ever since I started posting these training montages, I'm getting more leads. I'm getting more people that actually want me to coach them. So it's like I'm not going to get leads to coach people from being a jiu-jitsu athlete. I have to get back to my bread and butter.
True.
I have to show people that I'm practicing what I preach, that I am a capable and competent lifter. They could see my technique and understand that I know how to come up with stuff on the fly and everything else. So it does also mean toning back the jiu-jitsu a little bit while my body adapts. And there's a blessing and a curse, Ian, to having been really strong. Like if I was never strong and I started lifting 3 days a week, I probably wouldn't have these issues. But the fact of the matter is, when you've been strong, and let's be honest, if you're on TRT, and I don't abuse it, but I take the prescribed dose, okay, it's not uncommon for me to gain 50 pounds on a deadlift a week.
50 or 15
50.
a week for how long
If I
though? I'm
have,
holding it for
I
a
mean,
couple of weeks
I don't
and
know.
then it
I mean,
tapers off.
when I was not training jiu-jitsu for a while and lifting, I remember I went in and did some high rack pulls, and I could barely do 365 for sets of 8 above the knee. 6 weeks later, I was doing 605 pounds for a set of 10.
Okay.
Okay, like it was just my body just remembered, and all of the muscle came back. Like I mean, just boom,
You know what's crazy
like
about
that.
that? So, with people who get really strong, you have to have closer to mastery in your technique.
Yep,
So, you can't really get that strong unless you're just a big brute and you can kinda bull through it and power through it. But for the most part, people who do achieve high levels of strength athlete prowess really have a great body awareness under the lifts. Maybe not like great, graceful dancers or other, types of athletes,
uh
but
huh.
under the bar, they can find the body position and then they can hold the body position. So your competency from being strong is also feeding into your results being a lot faster than they were. So,
For sure. Yeah, there's no changing of what muscles I'm recruiting each week. I know
sure.
exactly what I'm doing when I get into the gym, but it does make you think, like, for someone who's doing other stuff, okay, jiu-jitsu, maybe running, maybe you're training for a race, it doesn't really matter, okay? Maybe it's better to lift the same weight every week for the first couple weeks on these big compound movements and just increase technique, movement, and bar velocity. If you can lift the same weights better, okay, like let's say you're really weak compared to what you used to be. And so let's say that first week I come in for those rack pulls and I pull 365 and I'm putting pretty much 365 pounds of power, of force into those repetitions. Okay. If I kept that weight the same, okay, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe in 6 to 8 weeks, I am putting 600 pounds of torque, of force into that bar, right?
Yes.
Without
Yeah.
moving the 600 pounds. And now I understand. I recently went back and read some of the stuff I had written by Alex Viada, where he was talking about a huge thing for hybrid athletes was the dynamic effort method, because it allows you to get stronger without pushing maximum poundage, right? Like, so yeah, you technically, even if you lift the same weight, if you get stronger and you're putting more force, and you also know this too for beginner lifters, Ian, how many times have you capped a guy at a 225 deadlift and they want to go up in weight, but by the end of a 12-week cycle, they're pulling with a neutral spine, the hips are snappy, where at the beginning, they're like a baby deer, you know, they're all over the place. Like Jim Weller talks about this all the time, that he will have his football players use the same training max for months and months and months. And he'll have kids that haven't benched literally more than 175 test out with a 280 bench press at the end of the
Wow.
year because they're just, to his credit, they go hard on the assistance lifts, like the stuff
Sure.
that they can't kill themselves on, dumbbell bench, weighted push-ups, things like that. But the bar, he's just focusing on speed and technique, speed and technique, speed and technique. And then before you know it, it's there. It's there when you need it.
Yeah, and without the technique, at some point you will plateau and plateau hard, and then you have
Precisely.
to relearn, and you have to basically unravel your technique to relearn it, and it's a really difficult thing that a lot of like intermediate powerlifters go through. That they get really strong really quick. Maybe they have a good environment or intense environment or a pretty good coach they're going with, and then they get really stuck because their technique. I was guilty of this. Like when I was deadlifting at my heaviest, my technique changed because I got heavier, I got fatter, right? My body changed. And then I kind of just wanted to keep the increases coming each week, each month, each 6 month cycle. So I didn't worry about where my posture was anymore. I just kept ripping it off the floor. And your body will take the path of least resistance. And at that point, the muscles in question, the muscles that are demanded to do that movement cannot fire properly. They just cannot get the
Yep.
leverage on your bone structure
Yeah.
to get that weight moving because you are starting to round or whatever compensation you're making. So yeah, technique is the core of my entire content, drive is I just do all technique and people probably get pretty sick of it. But without it,
You're fucked.
it's you're fucked.
You're fucked.
Your physique results are not going to be half as what they could be. Your strength results, it'll be much more dangerous of an endeavor to pursue strength without a deep understanding of technique. So I
It's
always
also,
drill people, a lot of my clients early on, I'll just say, we're going to do a lot of the same things for the first bunch of weeks. So just prepare for that. This is not going to be Jillian Michaels variety boot camp where we're doing
mhm.
different shit every single week because your proficiency in these lifts matters. The better skill you get at these lifts will get you better results every rep, every set, every week. So it's important.
You know how many times when I was coaching lifters on a regular basis, I had to explain to them that they had hit the ceiling for that particular technique, and we were going to have to take several steps backward. Like, you're going to like a maze or something. You have these two parallel paths. One path ends here, and the other one, you can't even see the end. That's how far away that it is. But in order to get on this parallel path, you have to go way back and find that other door. All right. And then to change paths, I used to
Sure.
see that all the time on people's bench presses in particular. They had terrible technique from just benching at a commercial gym on a shitty bench. They didn't know what they were doing. And it wasn't until like eventually they would start to get pec issues or they just were so frustrated because obviously another important element of the technique being consistent is you have to be able to pick the right assistance work, right? So if you are changing your technique all the time, that means that the assistance work we're picking has to change, which means you're not training the right muscles to get those lifts up. Like if I could put you in good technique on the bench press and we realize that the weakness is going to be your triceps. Okay, great. Like now we're just going to hit a lot of board presses and we're going to get your triceps strong and big, whatever. But let's say the next week you've changed your technique and now you're benching like a bodybuilder and you're failing at the bottom. Well, now if we want your bench to go up, we have to do a bunch of pec shit. Okay. And now we're not going anywhere because we're changing technique constantly. And that's kind of been a big thing as I don't know who is running the West Side Barbell Instagram, but they're doing a great job. They've been releasing these really digestible charts and graphics of how to use the West Side method for different sports, how they structure it. Just
Cool.
great. Like the one weakness of Louis Simmons was he was all over the place.
Yeah.
Like whoever's running it now, they have a full understanding. I think it's probably Burley Hawk and this Irish guy whose name I always forget. I want to talk about Burley Hawk in a second. Um, they're just like releasing these great little clips, and one of the things that they talk about is just the importance of in the power lifts. They like the variety because if you do, let's say, deadlift heavy all the time, and you're constantly coming close to failure, it is going to change your technique. If there's a way
Yep.
that we could strain and get the body stronger without changing the technique for the competition lift, why wouldn't we? I saw this old interview of Louis Simmons where he was like, I never let my guys miss a competition style deadlift in the gym. He said it fucks with your technique, and he's like, it fucks with your mind.
It's one of the most detrimental things you can do.
You know,
Is
like
I think miss a lift at any of the big 3. Just
yes,
missing lifts in general in the gym is
sucks.
so detrimental to
It
your
sucks.
training
It
and
sucks,
your
dude.
nervous system, especially when you're that strong and you're squatting, deadlifting, and bench pressing hundreds of pounds for your, yeah, you said, your confidence. That's why speed work is great for confidence. Besides
Exactly.
the unit recruitment and being
Mhm.
able to fire more power into the bar without adding weight to the bar just yet, and that'll transfer eventually. But yeah, it's really, really tough to miss a lift and shake it off. And like you said, it
Yeah,
takes a lot
dude.
of humility for GSP to go and get submitted by nobodies. It takes a lot of humility to get buried under a weight you hit last week. Right. So if you
Dude,
push the weights too far too fast, your CNS will burn out and you'll hit the wall, and it's real, man. It's real.
one of the things that I used to do every training cycle was I would miss a squat the first week that we put on knee reps because I
By
want my
balance, but by weight of balance
but
or
no, because my nervous system just wasn't ready to handle that much more weight. I spent the whole off season
sure,
training in sleeves or naked knee or whatever, and in your head you're like, well, the knee reps will give you at least 75 pounds. So let's put 80 pounds or whatever on top of what I did last time. And dude, my worst misses were in the gym, like, and it would always be a weight that would literally be my opener in competition 6 weeks later.
sure,
Okay. But like the ball would like go over my fucking head. Like I wasn't used to pushing into the wraps, of course, all those
sure.
things. But your core's not ready, your nervous system isn't ready, and it would always fuck with me. Like my biggest, most miserable times during a meet cycle would be that first week we put on the straight bar and we put on knee wraps, catastrophe all the time. Just,
Always. Okay,
always. And it was just too much testosterone. It's one of the times where the environment like wasn't a good thing. I
got it.
needed to be more intelligent about it. And it would always fuck with my mind. Always. So yeah, missing lifts is like a no-no. And my training partners will be like, why'd you stop? In particular, when I was doing like deadlift reps, you look at the camera and everything looks smooth. But in my head, I know I couldn't have done another one with good form.
Got it.
I just know, like it's over. Like there's no way that I could have done it. I might have missed. Period. That's always on the
Or just
agenda.
grinded through it and put yourself through something you
Yeah,
didn't wanna be in.
and I start to realize now as we're getting older, assistance lifts are for grinding. If you want
Yeah,
to grind on something, yeah, go full retard on the hammer press. Who cares?
'cause it's low risk.
Who cares? Nothing is going to happen. You know what happens? You put it down. You get up and you punch yourself in the face. Like it's like that fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's that simple. Like, oh, you wanna go full ape on a leg curl machine? Great. You know what happens? You just get up. It's really not that hard. Okay. Like you could go
Or
to failure or past failure on these things and get up and you're like, yeah, I'm good to go. We're fine. No worries. No
yeah,
worries. Um, two things I wanted to ask you about. I actually was so proud. For whatever reason, Burley Hawk followed me on Instagram, and
awesome.
I commented on his on one of the posts. I was like, dude, I spotted you for your like a 905, 950 raw squat.
It
And
was
I was like,
950.
it was like the freakiest thing I've ever seen. So I want our audience to think about this. There is a dude, and he's still young. Like he was younger than us then.
He was in his early 20s, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
He looked like he was older because he
Well,
had
of
a
course,
beard and he was enormous.
huge guy. Is there a better name than Burley Hawk
Is that his real
for?
first name, though?
I think so, dude.
Not like an alias of some
The only
sort?
better name is Lincoln Hawk. All right, from Hawk and Son Hauling. Okay, that's it. That's it. From over the top, like Burley
Yeah.
Hawk. Is there a better name for a giant white dude who's like a freakazoid? Burley Hawk jumps into the West Side Pro Invitational. Uh, he's the only raw lifter, so he just jumps in with geared lifters. Okay, and he just does a belt and knee wraps. And the thing that always stuck out to me was I remember when he called his third attempt 950 raw squat, which is still an amazing lift. Okay. But back then, it was even more impressive,
Was it
right?
with knee wraps or
Was
just
was with knee
sleeves?
wraps. It was with knee
Okay.
wraps. Okay. I remember thinking to myself, okay, third attempt, got to really stay with him here. Like I'm the back spotter. You know what I mean? I'm like, we got to really stay with him. This is going to be tough. You could see on my face in the video, like, dude, guys, he gets this thing out of the rack and fucking destroys it. Just
Dunked it.
absolutely smokes it. And you could see the look of like awe and shock on my face. And I went back and watched the video. Dude, he obliterates the squat, puts it back in the monolith, and he's like, "Gah, gah!" And it was one of the most impressive feats of strength, maybe the most impressive that I've ever seen. Like right
In
directly
person?
in front of me.
Yeah.
Dom has done some stuff that's right there. Okay, he's the only
Okay.
guy that's on that level. Okay, um, I just remember the look being like, "What the fuck did I just see?" Like that guy just took 950 to the hole, okay, did like a fucking speed rep with it, and just walked away like nothing happened. It was like that's a different species, sir.
Yeah.
That is a completely different level of. It was unbelievable to see a guy do something like that. Like
Do
I
you know his dimensions? He was at least like 6'5". He wasn't, so he didn't have like stocky, you know, short bones. He had a really long body for the most part, but he was 350. How
yeah,
he must have been at least 50, 400
we're
pounds maybe
talking real deal
at the time.
offensive lineman measurements here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Borderline pro strongman, frankly.
Yeah.
Borderline. Like
Yeah.
I think sometimes those guys can even be a little bit taller. Like you would know better than me. But
Not
I'm pretty
always.
I'm pretty sure Burley was taller than me, so he was at least 6'3". Like tall enough that it was like you acknowledge this guy is taller than me. You're not like he's got you
Got it.
by a quarter of an inch or something. Like
Sure,
I'm like,
sure.
oh shit, this guy's tall. Okay, and just crazy powerful. And like he'll post his training to this day, and his max effort work will be like an 800-pound deficit deadlift with no belt, like a smooth single.
Does he still compete?
I think he's one of the main guys running West Side Barbell now.
Oh, so
So
he's
I
not
think it's
competing
just
anymore.
like his focus is on that. He still puts up like almost all of his max effort work that I see is all beltless, like as little equipment as possible to make the workouts probably take as little time as possible
Sure.
and like still get him some benefit. But dude, like talk about all time insane feats of strength. Like in terms of happening right in front of me, that was one of the things that I just couldn't believe. Again, if he had hit the squat and it took him 5 seconds, it still would have been impressive. But the speed that he stood up with it, like it was nothing.
It was
Especially
like a
when
warm up.
yeah, like especially when I was like preparing myself, because when you're back spotting, you you don't want to hit the lifter. So
So you
you
have to be in line
yeah,
with their you're
so
squatting with them at
I'm
their pace.
preparing myself
Yeah.
to match his pace, so it just shocked me when he came out of the hole so quick. I didn't wanna stay down there and accidentally hit his hips and kill him, you know what I mean? So you're up and
Sure.
down, and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" Like, if it was any other place, I'd be like, "Are those plates real? Like, is this like, did I just watch some fake
Yeah.
Hollywood workout? Is this like Rocky 6 where he's like push jerking 405, but he can't front rack it? Like, what is this? Like, this doesn't make any sense." Like, it's absurd.
He was
Absurd.
yeah, that was incredibly impressive, and it must have made the geared lifters, like the suit lifters feel bad because some guys had like 1,025 and he just dunked 950 with knee wraps only. Like, just quit. Just leave. I mean, obviously squatting 1,000, gear, no gear is still very impressive, but it's like, what am I doing this for? If this guy who just walks in like a rock star, dunks, I mean, he dunked it. It wasn't like a questionable depth. It was like ass to grass for as big a man that large with that much meat on the bone can get as low as he could. He did.
Yeah.
He dunked it. So that was really
He
impressive.
also might have benched 600 at that competition.
Did he? What are his numbers? I gotta pull his numbers up
Let's see if I
from
can find it right
that
now
actually that event because that was outrageous. Absolutely outrageous.
to look it up right now. Burley Hawk. Wish I had a media assistant to do this for me, but nevertheless.
Yeah, what's Joe Rogan's guy? Jamie?
Jamie,
He just
yeah.
calls on Jamie to one day. We'll get there.
Burley Hawk, West Side Pro total. 2320 total, but the AI's got it all wrong. It doesn't show
Really?
exactly. So it says he only squatted 800. I know for a fact he didn't only squat
No,
800.
no way.
I watched him do it. Hold on, here we go. I found a YouTube video. Let's see. There's an 800 squat. Looks like a speed rep, like a joke. Okay, 850 looks like a speed rep. By the way, he's even bigger than I thought. All right, so it was
That was
900.
huge.
Destroyed it. Looks like a speed rep. Okay, goes nuts after the rep. Okay, opened on the bench with 585, smoked it. You and I are spotting him. Goes to 615,
Wow.
smoked 615. Okay, called it there and pulled 805. He had a hand injury. I'm looking at it right now. His hand was fucked up, so he was losing
Okay.
grip on the deadlift, but he pulled it easy. He just had to get he had the bar in his right fingertips at the very very end. So he probably
Damn.
left a good 50 to 70 pounds. But at the time, that's one of the best raw totals ever. Squat is retarded, and for anyone who doubts it, look up the depth of those squats. That's not a situation where you're like, the guy should have taken 100 pounds off the bar and actually squatted to depth. It's really more like he should have put 100 more
Sure.
pounds on the bar because that's what he had in him that day.
Yeah.
That level of strength, unbelievable.
That's something else about powerlifting is like every day is different. You may show up on platform day and you feel like dog shit and you have a bad day, but where you call your lifts and where your attempts, that's strategy. There's a lot of strategy there, especially if you're competing with other people. I never really thought of it that way. When I did powerlifting, it was more like I want to beat my best total because,
It's
you know,
very rare, dude. You have to be at a national level meet where, first of all, where winning matters. At a local
sure.
event, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Okay, and also you have to be like in tight enough competition to where you have to think about these things. Like I never had that. I was never in a situation where I was like, oh, I'm going to win this meet. It was more just like, what's the best total that I could get? Uh,
Yeah.
it would have been a lot of fun to have a handler being like, hey, if you want to win $50,000, we have to add 20 pounds to your pull. That I think
Sure.
is real excitement, but that's just not a thing. And also at a local meet, dude, the level of skill is so big. Like everyone else, like I would be there and it would be like me and then like Kevin Oak, who's going to beat
Yeah.
me if he has the worst day of his life. Okay. And then a bunch of people who suck worse than me. So it's like, I'm just going to get second. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm
Yeah.
somewhere between the bums and Kevin Oak, somewhere in that giant stratosphere of space. I'm somewhere in there. Okay. And like, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to beat Kevin Oak. It's not a thing. Okay. And those other guys aren't good enough to beat you. They're squatting 4, benching 3 and pulling 5. Like, I'm going to beat them. Right. So like,
Yeah.
what do? You just get the best numbers you can possibly get. I've coached at meets like Royal Unity where there was stuff on the line, but still it was kind of like, it was like with our buddy Moose. If he just did his thing, he was going to win. The only question was, would he survive the weight cut, which he barely did.
Yeah. How did he do back then when he went to Raw Unity?
He won the 198 class,
Did he?
relative to his what he was capable of. He had a terrible day.
Okay.
Uh, didn't cut weight properly at all. Okay. Nearly died cutting weight. It was absolutely excruciating to see him go through it. Didn't know how to put the weight back on properly. And so it was like, I think he might have gotten 2 squats. I think he got maybe 1 bench and 1 or 2
Wow.
deadlifts, and that was it.
Really?
Like he was just that drained. Like he needed to prepare for the weight cut better, which he didn't do. He needed to be more aggressive with the rehydration, which he wasn't. And I also think he was so emotionally drained from the cut that he was like flat for the meet.
Got
Like
it.
he just wasn't
Got it.
there the way you have to be at a national meet. And also, the other thing was there was a guy that showed up and had a great day. He's actually from New York. I've competed in the same meets as him a couple times. I forget his name. He had a really good day, and he did push Moose a little bit, but I think Mark was looking at the numbers and kind of realized like none of these guys are really as good as me. If he did 220, he would have had to have a great day to win, and he probably still would have lost because Dan Green was there. You know what I mean? And so
Got it.
he just wasn't going to beat Dan Green back then.
Yeah.
But it the weight cut killed him, dude. What else could you say? It was
Yeah.
he did his best machinist impersonation, and
You're right.
it didn't work out. It's that simple. But
That's crazy.
either way, dude, I got to get my back in order. Maybe I can start doing jujitsu again next week with the snow coming up. I got to make sure that I don't fuck my back up again.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm gonna do some speed work on Friday, so tomorrow. I just got to see what I can do. I might do speed rack pulls even. I don't know. I have to figure out something.
See, that would jack my back up. See, I'm so funny that the exercises you select seem like they are back killers, but like all the pin pulls, the Anderson stuff. Like I always felt much more strain in my low back because of the lack of momentum and having to break the pins or having to break the off the blocks or whatever it is. So yeah, you choose some some tough back moves, in my opinion, from my
There's
experience,
no
my
way I could have
perspective.
Anderson squatted with the bar on my back. I can't possibly describe to you the difference in muscle recruitment doing I've never done it with the bar in front of me before. Okay.
Isn't it more? Would you say it's more stress on your spine for the bar to be in front of you because it's trying to flex you as well? Where the bar on your back's, you can stay in
The
extension
the
a
bar in
little
my
bit
back,
easier.
I felt like it my this if the issue was spasming, I feel like, which it is, the spasms would have been much worse with the bar on my back because I know that my lower back would have wanted to take over the lift. Okay. Where with this, with the Anderson squats, by virtue of being able to get my knees out in front of my toes for the exercise, okay,
Sure.
it kept me a little bit more upright and I was okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, but still, again, that's why I chose sets of 5 instead of singles.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go in there and strain. And everyone who's done a pin press or a pin squat will tell you, like, it's a crazy experience because it feels like you're gonna blow out like a blood vessel in like your eye or something like that, and the bar
Yeah.
barely moves. Like there's
Yeah.
so much energy being exerted before but the bar moves 3 inches to lockout, but it feels like you just I mean, whatever. It feels like you just strained forever in order to even move it just a little bit. It's kind of a
Yes.
trip to watch. Like it looks like someone's not doing anything, but meanwhile they're like going to die. Like they're literally going to die. Uh
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, for me, that front position again with the harness, very easy to ditch.
True.
Just right back down, like no
Fair
issue,
enough.
no concern. Um, it felt like it beat my hips up more than anything. If it did,
Okay.
it really just kind of trained my hips, I should say. But again, I didn't go full retard on it again. I stopped well
Fair
below
enough.
300 pounds. Yeah,
Yep. But to one of our points from a few weeks ago, when you don't have training partners that are at your level and at your let's say you're in the gym IQ, they can't really call you on your bullshit and tell you when to cool off because they're not really they don't have that they don't have the accolades to say call it there, dude. You're not. That's it. Like they don't have
yes.
the knowledge to say that. So I'm gonna say, why don't you just take 2 weeks where you only do belt squats and nothing loaded up top, no deadlifting, just 2 weeks where you're just doing all
That
machines.
is why I had them film everything. It wasn't just for Instagram. I wanted to take a look at the sets
Okay.
and be like,
Okay.
okay, what does my back actually look like here versus what I'm
Yeah.
feeling. Um, and it looked easier than it felt, and that's why I cut it there.
Always.
I was
Always.
just like, all right, I'm done here. Didn't look like it slowed down too much. Let me see how I feel at the end of it. The belt
Yeah.
squats at the end always help with just decompressing your spine. You feel a ton better. So I feel fine today relative to like, how I've been feeling. It's not like I feel like I
Sure.
never had a back
Sure.
spasm over the past couple weeks.
Okay.
But oh, it's just part of life, dude. I get these 2 to 3 times a year. Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, probably because of your mixed disciplines, right? Your grappling is very
For
flexed. You're
sure.
always,
For
in
sure.
guard and pulling into that.
Mhm.
And then you're required to maintain neutral ish or stable spine, whatever position you choose to start with in deadlifting. You're required to maintain that position throughout deadlift. So if you start flexed, you got to stay at that level of flexion.
Correct.
If you start real puffed up and extended, and you get pulled into flexion,
You're fucked.
one of the most dangerous things you can
Yeah,
do for deadlifting.
exactly. So it
The,
is what it
the
is, but I'm
yeah.
gonna see what I can do on on Friday. I just feel like any type of deadlift is a bad idea. It's either gonna be a speed day or an accessory day. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll report
Yeah. Be
back.
easy with the. Also, think about like when you come off the pins or off the blocks, whatever. Don't accelerate so quick in the beginning. Like build acceleration through your lift. So it's break the pins and then start to accelerate more because firing into, you know, kind of no momentum and a dead
Oh, for sure.
stop is
Yes,
going to be
trust
tougher
me.
and tougher to,
Absolutely.
maintain your
I
position.
was making sure hips totally underneath my shoulders, okay,
Yeah.
getting tension and then standing up. Oh yeah, dude. It's like loading a slinky and then shooting it into like a metal pole. Like that's a bad idea. Like we need to be like tight,
Yeah.
move up. Yeah, I totally agree. It's funny. I think my training partners were struggling with that. Like one of them kind of more of a novice lifter, like he's getting under the bar and you could see he's like trying to shoot into it, but he just didn't know how to generate enough tension through his back
Sure.
so he was like all over the place under a static bar, and it was like frankly, you probably shouldn't be doing this. You should probably just be bell
Yeah.
squatting, but we'll figure it out.
You gotta be super stable before you explode. You can't just fire and, you know, see what happens. It's really dangerous.
All right, brother. Listen, here's the deal. I think I'm done for today. How about you? What do you got?
Likewise. Yeah, it was a good one.
All right, people. We'll see you next week when I pick the physique of the weekend and we play Stump Ian again. All right, guys.
Shut up.
Take it easy. Have a great week. Don't hurt your back. And be a man. Shovel your snow with a rounded back. All right. Take care, people.